You're listening to Biz-Souls, the business podcast with an edge, hosted by me, Rona Lewis, and Jeffrey Hansler. Tune in for perspectives and discoveries about the changing world of business. It's time to connect to the heart, soul, and humor of how business gets done. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Biz-Souls. I'm Rona Lewis.
I'm Jeffrey Hansler, and we get to the heart and soul of business and the people that make it happen.
Yay! And today we have my new friend, Em Stroud, all the way from jolly old England, or jolly New England, whichever, from London. I had the pleasure of meeting her when we were both giving workshops and both chairing at HR Vision earlier this year, and she, you lucky dog, got to chair the whole thing, and she was absolutely fantastic. She has over 20 years experience, and you created and run programs for hundreds of business leaders around the world. Em is committed to helping people create more impact in their leadership and their life while having just a little bit more fun, which is how and why we connected, because we both have play involved a lot. She is a two-time TEDx speaker, podcast host, performer, and entrepreneur, and all-around fantastic woman. And we're going to talk about her brand new Leadership Impact School. So I'm super excited. Hi, Em.
Hi, nice to be here. Thanks for having me on Biz-Souls.
Yay. So
We're very glad you're here. Thank you. Oh,
So,
do I get to ask my question?
He always
okay.
asks the same question of everyone.
Okay.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, when I was 7, I either wanted to be, and I really remember this very distinctly, either a cobbler or a brain surgeon. Obviously, I did neither.
Right. Good choice.
What was the link? Was there a link at all, or what was?
No, I genuinely think I might have walked past a shoe shop at one point, and I think I saw that and went, "That looks quite fun." And then I think I was always quite fascinated with the brain, so obviously I was like, "Well, I'll be a brain surgeon," because my 7-year-old self obviously thought that was, both were very good and fair careers.
Absolutely, because there is honor in every career, isn't there?
There is honor in every career. So do you think it was the two are tied in with tools? I mean, you get to work with saws, you get to work with hammers, you get to work with. So are you working with hammers and saws and?
I mean, I did do GCSE. So when you're 16, I did do GCSE woodwork, and I may have made snooker cues in a actual box set, and I think this is the first time. I think you are literally getting a premiere of information. I don't think I've ever shared that globally.
So, we win!
So yes, I made 2 snooker cues that do still exist and still work. So
Yay.
A little bit of my childhood self did carry on.
And for those of us that didn't grow up in England, GCSE?
Yes. So the exams that you take when you're 16. So you take exams at 16 and 18 in the UK, and GCSEs are what you take when you're 16.
Very good.
Very good. All right. We learned something new, because, you guys have a different word for everything.
I mean, as do you. So, but somehow we manage. We manage. Across the pond, we still manage,
Unbelievable.
What's the expression? Common people separated by
a body of water?
By language?
Oh, common people. Yes. Right. I don't know. Anyway, so how did you get from that to what you do now? Tell us a little about your journey.
A little bit. So when I was sport. So my whole childhood was all about sport. I was pretty good. So I got picked for sort of county, I guess that would be state sort of side, and then national lacrosse, the game with with the stick and everything else like that. And then I injured my back, and I was told, you cannot do any sport for 6 months. Which, when you're told you cannot do sport for 6 months and that's your whole identity, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. What am I going to possibly do? So I went along with one of my friends to the school play audition that I didn't even know existed, but I had nothing else to do with my day. And I found myself, and I got the lead comedy role. And suddenly, this standing in front of an audience, getting praise and being warm, as opposed to on a cold lacrosse pitch, was quite appealing. And so the whole thing of theatre and comedy and all of that stuff started then. And my dad was an entrepreneur. So I grew up watching that you could do things from a different perspective. So I already had that modelling that you didn't necessarily have to get a job. So that love of business and the love of performing has been my constant companion as I have grown and become the adult that you see before you right now.
So wait a second. What did your dad do real quick?
So my dad, he used to, well, he had various different businesses. So the main one that I grew up with was that he used to be a middleman selling sweets. So he would, I used to get to go to warehouses full of different sweets. Now, I don't think you have them in the States, but this character here is called Bertie Bassett. So if you're just listening, I'm showing this picture of this kind of licorice all sort character that in the UK is really famous. Okay. And my dad was involved with Bassett's. And so that's why I got the tattoo, because it's a bit like a clown giving a hug, which reminds me of my dad always. So he used to sell sweets.
Sweet. It's almost like your version of, I guess our version is the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yes,
something
exactly.
Like
that.
Yeah, he does actually look quite similar to that. And when my son was born, he looked like the Marshmallow Man.
Oh
my gosh, it's like we know each other. So there you go.
Okay, so going back to school real quick with the testing system. Yeah. So first of all, I test very badly. And I really, so do you think the system promotes people, does it help you with your career or does it more interfere? Like in Switzerland, my dad, you took a test and, based on the results, you either went to university or trade school. So do you think the system in the UK helps, and has it changed?
I mean, it's changed since I was a kid, and I think they're now starting to move back towards apprenticeships as opposed to just being take exams, take tests, be this, be that. I definitely was a little bit of a curveball character. And so I think for me, the exams that I took, I did okay, but for my private British education, private girls' school, I was not particularly bright. So I got 3 Bs or, an A, B and a B, as opposed to straight As. And I think if you have a different way of thinking, I think the education system then was not particularly set up for someone like me. I think it's slightly improving, but one thing that definitely is not happening enough of is there's not enough play. There's still, you hit the age 6 and then suddenly it's like, sit down and listen. It's having a son who's now 13 and watching him do the education system here in the UK. It's okay if you're wired in a certain kind of way and he's wired in that way that he can do okay at tests. But I think if you're not, or I think if you're just creative and everything else like that, don't think the system's great.
Yeah. And I believe it's very similar like that here. It's, this is the curriculum and this is what you have to learn. Yeah. And there are, there's like Montessori schools and things like that allow for that self-thought and, autonomy that allows for, I think, higher executive function and, things like that. Anyway, so we digress per usual. I want to talk a little bit more about, how your humor brought you to how you're teaching leadership skills.
I think one thing that I realized pretty early, so I started coaching and training people probably at the age of about 23, 24. So, pretty young to be walking into a boardroom. Now, obviously, I still look quite young now, but when I was 23, 24, I looked about 12. And I'd be walking into CEOs who were in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. And I learned really quickly that when you have an ability of making people laugh, and, that is my training, that is my craft. Yes, I'm a trained coach as well, but I've spent 6 years, I went to drama school, I studied theatre at university, I continually grow in terms of my improvisation, my clowning skills. So this is a craft, right? And I practice it and I understand how to use it. And then when I sort of went from here's the performing world into the business world, one of the things that doesn't matter who you're talking to, whether it's leaders or whether it's a bunch of children, people connect when you can make them laugh. And when you make people laugh, obviously, I'm not the scientist, but loads of good stuff goes on in your body. When you laugh, you feel better. And when you laugh, everything opens up. So really quickly, as I was starting to build a coaching practice and various different businesses, I realized that if you make people chuckle a bit, you know what? You can then challenge how they think. Whereas if you're like, hey, everybody, today I'm going to do some presentation skills training. It's going to be really interesting. You already know that everyone's like, But if you can make something fun, then actually that's how you connect and build rapport.
And what was the driving force between drama? You're in drama. We're looking at the arts, maybe, Broadway, wherever you want to go. And all of a sudden, let's talk to business people.
A little bit of necessity.
Okay.
And also being very conscious of, I was pretty successful when I was just an actor. I.e. I worked for 80% of the year, which meant in the UK term, that means I'm sort of in the top 20%, right? But I really resented always waiting for someone else to go, "Hi, Em, you're hired. Hi, Em, you're great." Because sometimes you'd walk into an audition room and before you even said anything, they'd go, "No, thank you." And you walk out purely because I was too short or didn't have the right look or whatever it would be. And so I think partly because my dad being an entrepreneur, I didn't want to just stay always waiting, always being beholden to others. So I decided to create my own business, had a business partner. And the first business was a theatre company. And then to fund some of our shows so that we could pay people properly, lo and behold, everybody kind of made sense. Oh, actors, you could do presenting skills. And so honestly, the link just happened very naturally. It was like, what is it that I already have that I can share that actually has value? And then as a result of that, these kind of two worlds that I still very much live in now, I've kind of always just lived in both sides. And I like both. Yeah. I like going and hang out with business people. I like going and hang out with theatre people. Happy days.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's actually not that different. I mean, you had much more of a career than I did, but I also did acting for a while, got my SAG card, did a little bit more, and then, like you, were judged on what I was looked at, and I'm like, well, this isn't fun. And then I started my own path on consulting first, and then coaching, and then all that. And so,
do you have another question?
Yes, I do. Okay. I wanted to. Yeah, no, I just wanted to just throw the parallels.
Just wanted to talk about Rona, right?
Yes, I do.
I love the co-hosting there. Are we moving this or are we not? Yes, of course I am. I know what I'm doing.
I know what I'm doing. So tell me about. So you got up to this point. What made you decide to start this leadership school?
The Leadership Impact School sort of came to fruition out of my mind, truthfully, last year. And I realized that I've been doing this stuff for 20 years. So I've worked all around the world with some of the most awesome, lots of clients that you will have heard of, some clients that no one's heard of, because let's face it, there's lots of people in the business world that you have no idea what they do until you meet them. And I thought, okay, what is it that I love delivering, that I have delivered, that I know genuinely has shifted people the most? And because I'm a creative, took myself off and literally was like, impact. That is what people have always hired me for. It's impact in one way or another. And then I was like, okay, so when I think about impact, what are the 12 things? Okay, so there's playful impact, there's find your funny, there's presenting. And as easily as this conversation is for me, these 12 pillars of impact just emerged. And I realized, and I'm at a point in my career where I wanted to build something where I could then, in essence, create a worldwide series of schools where I can coach other people how the methodology that I have found so successful, because I don't actually want everything to be brand Em Stroud. I've got Em Stroud, the comedian, the person going on telly, writing books, the thought leadery stuff. And I just went, you know what, I can help more people if I build something that then is replicable, and then I can coach other people. So that's how it happened. Then suddenly, before I know it, I've got a Leadership Impact School in London. Happy days.
Fantastic. So how long has it been going?
So yeah, it launched where are we now? So it launched at the start of this year.
Yeah.
We've got open days that are running. We've now got clients that are running through pilot schemes.
That's amazing.
And a big official kind of sales and marketing launch is happening in the next couple of months with an amazing partner that, is very exciting. And then globally, the plan is that we'll have 2 in the UK, 1 in Ireland, 1 in Australia, and then 1 in either Canada or the US. Happy days.
And are you doing that through affiliates or licensing? Or are you are they part of the, or are they, so it's still in the process?
Still in the process.
Okay.
So with those type of things, the people that will be the teachers,
right,
they will also bring their own expertise, their own world, etc. And then truthfully, we'll probably have a managing director of each of the schools, because then you can make sure that the quality is right.
Okay. Nice. So how long is the class? Are there multiple classes? How does it scale up like that?
How's it scale? So there's 12 pillars of impact,
right?
Because that's what I worked out. So we kind of focus on one pillar each month, because I'm very simple. Let's make it simple, kids.
Yeah.
And the whole idea is that you come and you actually spend a day at a school. And because I'm theatre, it's an experience, right? Yeah. So when people walk in, depending on their age, we have different music playing so that it's evocative of when they were at school. They walk in, there's a tuck room. So there's little bits of, I don't know, do you have tuck rooms at
I
don't know what a tuck room is.
No, so like suites. So at school in the UK, you get tuck shops, And this is where you'd buy your sweets from. So we're going to have tuck shops. We've got a playground with loads of different play stuff. And the whole idea is that whole day is evocative and is an experience. It's not I'm going to go and do some training. It's like, I've gone to school and I've loved it. Because then that opens up the door for more learning.
So
and
much
more
fun.
things.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Is it like classrooms then? So if you walk into school, here's the classroom. A tuck is is the tuck the classroom, or is the tuck the school?
That's a little store.
Oh no, the tuck shop's in there. So in essence, all the spaces that we're using, it's all set up in a theatre space. Okay. So I got a set designer to create a set in a suitcase. Okay. So anybody that's running this can set it up, and it's got lights and stuff, and it looks magical.
Nice. So is it going to be the same for every school? Will look as close to the to that design.
Exactly.
Brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. So
Thanks.
what's your favorite thing about it?
I love surprising people when they surprise themselves. Because I think quite often in learning, and I think when, we're working with senior managers upwards, right? And I think lots of people, and no doubt loads of your listeners, have done various courses, have shifted, have learned different things. And I think when I see their faces and they're surprised and then they surprise themselves, that to me is what I love.
Yeah. Awesome. Has there been anyone who has come in and just kind of blocked it off and like, this is not for me, I can't do this, or
I think people respond to play differently. So the start of each day, and it's a day, there is free play. And watching, and you know this, Rona, right? Yeah. Watching adults get their head round that they're allowed to play, and there's playthings. There are some that are really comfortable, there are some that are terrified. But actually, what I observe and what has happened is that the person that's most terrified by the end, they're the ones that shift the most, And so I think everybody that's walked through our doors, they're aware that they're coming to something slightly different. So, and our job is to make sure that people feel safe. So fortunately, we haven't, as yet, had anybody go, nope, not doing this. I am now walking out. That hasn't happened.
That's great.
And going back to the structure then, so one pillar a month then? Mm-hmm. So then you could have potentially 30 clients, 30 companies. So 30 days in the month, you could potentially fill in every day if you wanted to.
Yeah,
it's a good model.
So is it a once a month thing, or do they go in once a week? How many?
Once a day, I thought. That's the way I heard it. Once a day on a pillar.
It's a day a pillar, and with our pilot schemes, we're trying different things. So some people are going, right, here's 15 people, because that's all we have. So here's 15 people, and they come one day each month for 12 months. There are other organizations who are going, well, actually, what our needs are, we've got 4 pillars. So can we do 4 days back to back? And then we also have open days where anybody can just put themselves online and go, I want to come to that, click, and then they just pay and then they come.
Very
but
good.
All of this is sort of, shifting, growing and changing as we're doing it, as you know, right? As all good businesses do.
Happens.
And may I ask how you're attracting them? So is it word of mouth, or is it on social media, or is it, do you have a website?
Or from you speaking?
All the above.
Tick and tick with all of those things.
All the above. Anything really producing? Anything really the big draw?
Well, we are actually, we're very excited because we're partnering with an awesome organization called Lead Flow, who there's over in the UK, there's a entrepreneur called Daniel Priestley, who's been on a lot of things recently. So Diary of CEO, which I know is massive in the US as well. And he's co-owner of something called Scorecard. And Scorecard is, in essence, you create quizzes, and the quizzes then generate results and, a whole series of, this is what you could do, et cetera, et cetera. And the Leadership Impact School, we're working with LeadFlow. And so they are, in essence, designing quizzes for all the different impact. They've done they're basically our partner in terms of sales and marketing. And that will be the main driving force behind the business, because that's their zone of genius. Me as a speaker, I'm pretty good. So generally, when I speak, we get stuff and we get people coming along to us. So all the different things,
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Fantastic. So is there, how would you recommend if someone else wanted to kind of do this or get into something like this, what sort of tips would you give them?
So if somebody wanted to teach in that kind of thing or set up their own business? Yeah. I think just do it. I think too many people wait until they think that they're fully ready, or they wait until everything's perfect. And actually, if you've got an idea And if you are brave enough to do that, just go and try it. And depending on what your relationship is like with risk, if you are somebody that needs to have financial security, then make sure you've got 6 months of money in the bank, but make sure that you pay yourself every month so that as you're building something, you're still getting paid.
Right.
So just, for me, it's that thing of we only get one life, right? And it's really important that you live it. And so if you've got an idea for something like this where you can help people, just try it. Start off small and then gradually it gets bigger.
Fantastic. One more question just about leadership overall. If the way you see leadership combined with humor and play, if there was something that you wish other people who think about leadership could let go of, like a belief that's just not serving them, what do you think? What is that?
Hold leadership more lightly. I think we all, and myself included at certain points, I think we can all take everything and ourselves a little bit too seriously. None of us, now some of your listeners might be, so if you are, don't listen to this bit. None of us are heart surgeons. We're not actually
or
holding
cobblers.
someone's, or cobblers indeed. Yeah. And it's this whole idea of, I think when we remember to find the joy, when we remember to find the lighter moments, those fun moments, they can be as real as the hard stuff. And I think if there's something that I witness across all the leaders that I'm working with at the moment, that the life world is quite hard at the moment. It's quite heavy. So individually, it's our responsibility as leaders, I believe, to find and create these moments of joy, these moments of levity, these moments of play, these moments of wonder, because they are as true as any of the hard stuff. Yeah. But sometimes as humans, we only focus on the hard stuff.
Right.
So for me, a little bit more lightness.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that gives their people, their employees, permission to play also, trickle down. So brilliant. Right. Anything else you want to ask?
So 2 questions really quick.
Okay.
One is any pattern who's coming currently? Is it departments or is it
That's a good question.
problem they're having? Is there a commonality, a thread through it all? Or is it all over the map, across the map? Like you might have sales group, you might have...
Yeah. It's across, and that's been really surprising to me. We were very clear. It was like, it's across sector, right, and it was middle management up. But what's been fascinating is that businesses, of course, they all have different challenges because they're all at different moments. And so one of the pillar really relates to, okay, there's that bunch, we could do with that for that particular group. We need this for that particular group, which has been awesome,
Nice.
And the next question is, and I'm sorry, I'm geographically limited for London. So the Broadway, you still got a foot on Broadway?
Yes. So in terms of my show, yeah. So I practice what I preach, right? And so yeah, my new show, which I did just off the West End as my previews in December, I am taking my show. It's called The Em Show, Tales from a Little Laughing Lesbian. And no, you don't have to be a lesbian to come and enjoy it, which honestly, I actually now have to add that as a caveat because I had a bunch of women in front of me. And when I told them the name, and most of them were straight, and they all just looked, and I was like, you don't have to be gay to come and watch it. There are other stories. It's called The Em Show. That's my name. And we are just sorting out the UK tour. So I'm going to be touring around the UK from September onwards, and then it's going to be finishing up at Melbourne Comedy Festival over in March 2026. That's as long as the tour is right now, but you never know, I might do Edinburgh as well. But
very
yeah.
good,
fantastic.
Very good.
That is awesome.
So the new ads will now say, come to the show in the West End. It's also for the not so very gay.
Yes, exactly. You have basically just nailed my entire marketing strategy. Lesbians are welcome, as are other gays and other people from the LGBTQ plus community. However, all of you other people are also invited.
That's right.
The
other check.
Wonderful.
Oh, anything else you want to throw in here while we have you? And how can people get in touch with you?
Well, thank you. Well, firstly, thank you. It's been lovely chatting to you both. So yeah, everything that's to do with me and my world is on emstroud.com. So EM, so like Emma, but if you call me Emma, I think you're my mother and I won't respond. So emstroud.com, and everything, including the Leadership Impact School, is on there. And I guess the only other thing which lots of people like is, I've got my own podcast, the Comic Coach Podcast, where I chat to awesome people about how they have impact in the world. So if you fancy, you like listening to this dulcet UK tone, then check that out. There you go.
And definitely check it out, because when am I coming on? May? June? Something like that?
Yeah. Something like that.
I'm going to go play with her.
Outstanding.
Yeah, that'll be super fun.
Outstanding. I'm just grateful Rona has friends because I don't have any friends. And
Correct.
This has been a wonderful experience.
Correct. He gives me money. He gives me money to talk to him. So
We don't need to know all the details right now. He gives me money. I just look brilliant.
That's right.
Excellent.
That's exactly it. You have us nailed down. Thank you so much for coming on. I am thrilled that we met each other, and hopefully we can continue this friendship play alliance and bring play and joy to the whole world.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you very much. This is great.
All right. And thank everyone for being here and playing with us. This has been Biz-Souls. I'm Rona Lewis.
I'm Jeffrey Hansler.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
And scene. You've been listening to the Biz-Souls podcast with your hosts, Rona Lewis and Jeffrey Hansler. Did you have fun? Subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. Talk to you next week.